Good morning, and sorry this is late. This is the Volganos Translations Podcast, Episode 6, and you have by now noticed that there are no visuals. That's because I kind of got lazy this week and decided not to record until, when I normally put it up. Or an hour later than when I normally put it up. But it is what it is. We're still going to talk about some good stuff today. Didn't do a whole lot this week in Monster Hunter. Sort of just grinded a few things, so didn't really get any accomplishments done, but still grinding is an accomplishment. You're still getting, progressing in some way, one way or another, either, getting new armor, weapons, completing quests, or simply just getting better at the game. Improving the skill, learning new monsters, attacks, and stuff, and just becoming a better hunter that way. So I stayed in G rank this week. I think I got up to G2 this week and did a few quests there. Again, it's hard to really progress. Some of my friends are in G rank, but they just got some good armor this week. And playing online with randoms still has proven to be completely futile. I did get up at 4 o'clock in the morning one day, not to play Monster Hunter, for something else, but I was up then because of that other thing. And I was playing online and actually found a decent group of guys, and so we were taking turns trading quests and stuff, so I got a little bit done there. But really, this week I kind of focused on the village more than not, and because I'm sitting at 10 stars, and I did quite a few quests there to start clearing some things out. There's a lot of different quest lines at the end that you work through. They consist of 3 or 4 different quests from one character. You talk to them, and they unlock more every time you complete one for them. So I did some of those, and started to progress more in the actual village, not the sub-quest lines of the village, like the funky feline or whatnot like that. So I did end up getting rainbow color because of my quest clearing. I finally went back and did the Caravaneer's challenge, which was really easy, actually. It was only 6-star quests, so they're all high-rank monsters. At least I think they were. I'm pretty sure they were. I don't remember what rewards I got for them. Yeah, they were high-rank. I did end up getting actually 2 Rajan nerves, which was fucking awesome. I didn't know he had a... That's a new item, so that was pretty cool. And yeah, it really was not that bad. I did have G-rank armor, of course, so that obviously is going to make a difference. It's basically a pure handicap from the start. But really, it took me 20 minutes, and I think 10 of that was just killing Shigaru Magala. Oh, and for those of you who don't know, the Caravaneer's challenge, at least the first one, is Jinogwa and Rajang at the same time in the sanctuary, and then followed by Shigaru and Magala. And you're like, oh my god, 2 monsters at the same time in a small area. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's Jinogwa and Rajang. They both move around really quickly, both have somewhat low health, and they're both weak to ice. So you can just bring an ice weapon. And I ended up bringing the Worn Duels slightly upgraded Fire and Ice. They are ice and blast damage, so they have that extra little punch, and they have a very small sliver of white, about 4 hits, and quite a big chunk of blue, and then no green. So I was sharpening a lot, actually, just because that blue doesn't last very long when you're out there by yourself. Just get combo after combo, especially with duels, obviously. So some things you're going to want to bring to that quest if you're trying to complete it, because again, the rainbow color is your armor pigment constantly changes color, which looks really cool in some of the sets. Some of the sets, it looks like butterfly and stuff. It looks amazing. And obituary, whatever, Kushala, I just made that. It's pretty sweet. So you're definitely going to want it. It also gives you a talisman for beating the quest, which is an amazing talisman. It's mounting plus 10, frenzy resist plus 2. I'd imagine it's the same for everyone. But that's a great talisman. Instant mounting skill. Phenomenal. I'll get more into that later because I have started using Insect Glaive recently, a lot more this week, but getting into more of that later. So things you want to bring on the Caravaneer's challenge quest to fight the Rajang, Jinogwa, and then Shigaru Magala. Farcasters. Okay, you are in the sanctuary, which means it's basically an arena. You have no place to hide. There's one rock in the middle, and they can destroy it. So good luck with that. You're going to want, anytime you want to sharpen or really heal up, if you're in big danger or something, or you just need to do a lot of, whatever, combining and all that, you're going to want Farcasters. So one Farcaster is never going to be enough, so you need to bring at least 2 books of combos, and then excited shrooms and bomb casings or bomb materials. So you can do that over and over again, and that just takes you out of the area. Just, it's safer that way. Again, you have 50 minutes to do this quest. Why rush it? It doesn't... If you beat it in 10 minutes compared to 45 minutes, what's the difference in the end? There isn't one. Maybe use more potions or whatever, but whatever. It's 100 zenny, something like that. you still beat it. So take your time with it. Don't worry about it. It's not a race. I mean, well, it is a little bit because you got to kill the first guy really quick before the other one notices. And that's the second thing I really want to talk about. So a lot of people don't realize how, and this has always been this way in every single Monster Hunter. It's awesome. They don't realize how to really handle two monsters at once in an arena. So what you do is you go in and you find the monster that's closest to you, right? Just whatever one is closest to you, that's when you go after it. Does not matter. And you want to throw down smoke bombs. Okay? You want to bring 10 smoke bombs, maybe more to combine. Usually, I think smoke bombs last like a minute, something like that, maybe. Maybe less. I want to say like 45 seconds or 40 seconds before they start dissipating. I don't really have an exact time on it, but I brought 10 smoke bombs. I only ended up using 3 before I killed Jinogo. I killed him in about 2.5, 3-ish minutes, somewhere in that range. I forget. But if you use a smoke bomb, the other monster that you're not fighting won't notice you, unless, of course, you go up to him and attack him or get really close. I even had the Jinogo jump all the way over near the Rajang and then come flying back at me, and the Rajang still didn't even notice. So smoke bombs are a 100%. You have to do it if you want this to be, 500 times easier. Just bring them. All you have to do is throw it down, doesn't matter where. Clouds up the whole arena. And when it starts dissipating, or if you think it's been long enough, just throw it on another one so you never have a break. If you have a break, you run a major risk of the other monster seeing you, and then it's a problem. However, if the other monster does see you, that means both monsters are attacking, and they're not immune to one another, right? So you can easily play off of that, where one can kill the other one for you. It happens all the time in quests, Large monsters kill prey. Why can't large monsters kill other large monsters? So you can play with that tactic too, but that usually takes a little bit longer because you're trying to avoid both of them. You get in more trouble because they can both combo you. It's kind of a mess because they're not focused on each other. They're still focused on you. So once you kill Jinogo, using your smoke bombs, because Jinogo was closest to me. It might be Rajang, but I went after Jinogo anyway because I found he was easier. He stays a little closer to you. Rajang tends to jump away. A lot of his moves are long range and short range, no real middle. He just doesn't kind of stop, especially with that laser attack. And Jinogo is just easier for me to kill. But luckily he was closer, so I went after him first. So once you kill one of the monsters, you can pretty much take your time and go after the second. Shigari won't appear until both of them are dead, as far as I know. Shouldn't. So, pretty easy. Not a big deal. With Shigaru, he's angry. And I think he's mixed between like high rank and G, maybe. I don't know. He seemed a little tougher to me. But maybe that's just because I was sweating bullets a little bit at that point, just because I was like, oh man, it's only been 10 minutes before I kill both these guys. I got plenty of time here. And then I got careless, and he carded me once because I was like, I want to get that horn combo, blah, blah, blah. And then he, blasted me twice and then stomped on me and then tail flipped me, and I was dead. But it is what it is. You don't want to get, like I said, you don't want to do what I did. You don't want to get greedy. You want to play it smart, and you'll get through it no problem. Obviously, both your cats, that being there will help a whole lot too. I had both of them on healing like I always do, and it worked out great. Another 10 minutes, Shigaru was dead, and yeah, that was the end of the quest. It was great. You get the talisman, and you get the rainbow color pigment, and everyone in every single town wants to talk to you for some reason. They're like, oh, congratulations. It's like, okay, wonderful. And you get a cool little guild card thing too, to account for your accolades, whatever. So definitely do that when you get it, when you're comfortable. And it'll be fine. It'll be fine. You'll do great. Everything will be fine. So I was also working in the village, and it was interesting because in the village you progress so far, you actually get G rank monsters, which I think that's new to the series. Usually in the past, it's always just been low rank village and high rank village, and the very last quest is a G rank level quest, which is usually what gives you your rainbow armor. It's usually not one halfway through. It's usually one that's at the very end. You do all the missions, then you get the last one, and then you get your rainbow armor and some sort of piercing or something. But so it's different in this game. It gives it to you a little earlier, which is fine. It's a color pigment. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's still challenging enough. So yeah, I was doing some of these G rank quests, and they require a G1 permit, G2 permit, and then I finally got far enough where I'm pretty sure I'm about to unlock Chameleos, which is awesome, but I need a G3 permit, which sucks because it's a bitch to get to G3, obviously. The good news about that is that I'm really close to Camillus offline, and I fought him once already online, and he was kind of tough. Definitely different than he's been in the past. A few extra moves in there. To that in a second. But so Camillus in the village will obviously be much easier because those G rank monsters, sure, they're G rank. Like I can tell, they hit kind of hard. You know, they take a little bit to go down. But compared to the guild hall G rank, they are leaps and bounds away from it. Like so far away from how difficult they are in the guild hall. It's insane, which is weird because I don't know. I feel like at that point, like it's okay, you know, to make them a little more difficult, especially considering there aren't that many monsters in there. Like you don't have to complete so many quests. You just have to complete a few of them. It's like a Celtis and like a Shroud or Nursilla. Like they're not the hardest monsters in the world. You could make them more difficult to account for the fact that you're progressing really far in the village. But it is what it is. You know, it's whatever. I guess if you don't have access to online, you know, the armor you have to deal with up to that point would probably be pretty rough. Because I am using G rank armor, so it obviously makes it a whole lot different, and it's upgraded a little bit too. But yeah, so I'm not sure how many monsters there are that are going to be G rank in the village. Right now I just know like the 2 or 3. But hopefully I'll unlock more when I get G3 and then progress on further there, because I definitely want to make that Camillus armor, because again, it's like one of the best armors in the game, and it makes you look like a wizard. So I also hunted a Crimson Fatalis this week, and that was pretty cool. Still kind of disappointed. I get more disappointed every single game with Fatalis, because in the first game, Monster Hunter 1, Fatalis was a one-hit kill. Pretty much every single attack, except for the fireballs, and if those didn't kill you, he usually followed up with another fireball what did kill you. Yeah, he was just insanely difficult in Monster Hunter 1. And it was only Black Fatalis, for those of you who don't know. And back in my day, there was only one Fatalis. And there was, and he was awesome, and his armor was the best, and his spear was amazing. Black Dragon Spear, and everyone used it against everything, always, ever. And it was great, and everyone loved it, and everyone was okay with it. And you had to gun him, but now you can melee Fatalis. You know, they kind of brought that in Unite. Like, you could melee Fatalis as much as you want, but it was still more safe to bow him. But now, against Crimson Fatalis, bow or bow gun, excuse me. When I say bow, I usually mean long range, or gun, you know, in Unite and all that. And P3, I don't remember if he was in P3 or not, to be honest. I think he was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was in P3, but I don't really remember. Whatever, it doesn't matter. So in 4 Ultimate, I haven't fought Black Fatalis or White Fatalis yet. I think White Fatalis is in the game much later. But Red Fatalis, in the past he's called these meteor storms, and he'd go up in the air and do these diving attacks, and he has some of those right now. But the meteor storm pattern is a little different, because I had memorized it in Unite. It would happen in certain areas around him that were key fighting areas, and they still happen sort of in those areas now, but they've actually moved the back leg areas outward and up in front of his legs, meaning that instead of them being behind the legs, they don't really come near you when you're attacking him. So really, well, and actually they have 2 locations. They're far behind the legs and outside, which is nowhere near him, or right in front of the legs pretty much, depending on if he moves or stands there. And so really, if you sit pretty much right behind the legs at the tail, you're safe from like every single attack, except for maybe the tail swipe. But even that, he charges for like twice as long than he has in the past. He slams it on the ground and drags it, but before that, he starts to contemplate his existence and kind of lifts up in the air and goes, I don't know if I should do this. It seems kind of mean, and, whatever, I have a long tail, I need to get it out of there, it's getting tired now. So he slams it down, and it's like, okay, well, I ran away, 10 seconds ago, so don't worry about it. He does have a really sweet attack, though. It's when it's like the Teostra Blast, tail goes up in the air, and it's awesome. He does that, but he shoots it out of his mouth, which is fucking terrifying, and it definitely killed me once. Didn't let it happen again, though. So he's really not that bad, but the coolest thing about that fight, and sort of the cheapest, but really the coolest, is that when you mount Fatalis, which you can mount Fatalis, right? I know, crazy. You actually don't mount on his back, you mount on his head, which is awesome, because as you're attacking during the mount, you're starting to break his horns and face, which is one of the most difficult things to break in the game ever. Which means Insect Glaive all of a sudden gets like commendations tenfold, because it's just so much more useful, because you can get his rarest items are his horns and his devil eyes, right? Always have been in the games. And sometimes the wings, because the wings can be a bitch to break too, because you can't really do it unless you're gunning. which I haven't done for that yet. I've only used duels on him the 3 or 4 times I've fought him. Made some sweet duels out of his parts, though. Dragon and Blast, they're amazing so far. Need better sharpness, though. So just that mounting thing just changes the whole aspect of it too. And of course, you topple him and he lays down for you, so you get more hits on the face, and then you can get hits on the wing. It seems like every game they kind of take Fatalis a little further out of like the end boss, because he used to be like the end boss, and I think that's now Gogu or whatever. Gogu Mazo or whatever, how the fuck is say his name. So I don't know how he is, because I obviously haven't made him to him yet. But I kind of like to remember Fatalis as like the amazing, like incredible, like if you weren't HR 20 and you didn't have a gunner set, you weren't coming, sort of thing, And I don't know, it's fine because he makes really awesome stuff, and it's good that more people get to experience him. But at the same time, I feel like there should be like that one monster, and it should be Fatalis. That should be the guy to fear in the game, Also, I think he had different music in Freedom Unite, at least Crimson. I think Crimson, White, and Black all had different music. I could be very wrong, but nonetheless, they used Black's music for that, and I think White's, I don't remember, but I think they used White's sound effects, so the eagle screams, but that might be Crimson. I just haven't fought him in a while, so it is what it is. So yeah, I was saying that I had been sort of just grinding this week and getting some stuff done there. Made some new armor sets, made some new weapons, but really I've been using different weapons recently. Primarily the Insect Glaive and the bow. Bow, I made an armor set for that, which is awesome. It's load up, part breaker, focus, and stamina recover up. And for those of you who don't know, that's basically an amazing bow set, because load up gives you the extra shot, which is pretty much almost necessary for any bow. You get a higher level, more damage, more charge, everything. Focus, obviously, when you're drawing the bow back, you use stamina, so it charges faster, which is just great. Stamina recover up, because as you're charging the bow, you're using stamina. And so pretty much when I've done this, and I've had level 4 and 5 charges, by the time I fire off that charge and get charged up for another one, my stamina is already up. So I don't need any mega juices, I don't need a whole lot of stamina. In case I need to roll away, I always have plenty. It's just I always have full stamina when I'm using the bow, which is really like the biggest issue that you can find with it. You can get yourself in trouble a lot by not having good stamina with a bow set. And then of course I made part breaker. I wanted part breaker in there because with ranged weapons, you have access to different parts a lot more often than the Blade Masters do, Wings, like I said earlier, with Fatalis, you can attack those anytime you want, especially with the bow when they have their arc shot. When they shoot it up in the air and it's like a mortar shot. It used to be called a mortar shot. At least that's what I called it. So you can do a lot of damage that way. Another thing I like pairing with bow is KO, although it's more for gimmicks because, it's whatever. Because you can get the impacts on the heads with that mortar shot as well. So it's a phenomenal set. I made it with a pretty specific talisman, but you can probably make it work yourself. So I used the Celtis Helm Z, Nibblesnarf Vest X. That's again the Celtis Helm Z, not the Celtis Cap Z. It's the Blade Master version. The Nibblesnarf Vest X, Celtis Guards Z, Kushala Wind Wrap, which is the high rank version, which is. Sometimes you have that. The high rank version is great because it gave me, I think it was capacity, which is load up or loading, whatever, and focus, two plus each, and then it also has 3 slots. So the 3 slots is just phenomenal. And then I used Duramboros Leggings X. So 2 of those parts you had to trade for. It was sort of a bitch to get to. You need G2 trade quests to unlock them, but then they're really easy to trade parts for. It's just pretty basic stuff. And prize pelts, I think, was like the last thing I needed, just for fucking Kelby parts or something. But yeah, and so I needed 1 stock of weapon based off my talisman. I think I have like a loading plus 4 with 2 slots. I think was my talisman for that. Which again, if you have a better one, you can make it work a little bit better. But most weapons have 1 socket anyway. And I've used it a few times, and the set works really well, like really well. It's great. And it's really, it's an early G rank set to make because you only need to be G2. You don't need to get all the other stuff. And then most of the monsters you need to fight aren't that difficult anyway, so it's no problem. But yeah, so bow, been using a lot. It's pretty much the same. Really, not a whole lot's different. The one thing I will say is that you need to 100%. You have to do this. You have to go into the options and change the bow controls. I think it's to Type 2. It's default Type 1. And that'll make it so everything just flows a lot better. It's controlled with the D-pad at that point, and you hold down R. I forget what the difference was, but basically you're holding down R to aim, and the D-pad will control everything on the left there for your aiming mechanics. I think it was really different before, or something like that. I don't know. I tried it once, and I just could not do it. It was a mess. But yeah, so you have to do that, and it's really useful. The bow is powerful. The weapons are pretty easy to make. One thing you really need to look out for with bow is you usually want to pick damage over element if you're trying to pick an elemental bow. Just because bows have a high damage output, and unless they have pierce shots, element really isn't super effective, I guess, just because of the frequency of how many attacks you're getting in there. Same thing with status effects. You can make a status upset for a bow, but I always find that, unless you have pierce, you just don't see the effects take hold a whole lot. Luckily, a lot of them do have pierce shot, which is great. But the really thing you want to look out for is power coatings. And if you don't have power coatings on some of the bow, that's one thing I really wanted in that set was power coating add, but just couldn't fit it in. Maybe late G rank set I'll get something that will have a lot of those skills, if not all of them, and then power coating add, and then it'll be like the best bow set ever. Because power coating doubles your attack. Well, it doesn't double your attack. It multiplies it by 1.5. So pair that with any bow, and you have an instantly so much better bow. Beyond that, I've been using Insect Glaive, which I made a set for. I didn't really make a set for it. I just adjusted the KZZ set I've been using with wide range and stuff to include my mounting jewel that I got from the Village Caravaneer's Challenge with mounting plus 10, right? And then socketed my set for mounting God, which is just incredible skill with the Insect Glaive. I mean, it's really the only skill that really fits the Insect Glaive as far as I'm concerned. Like bows that have stand recover up that really fit that really well, or like focus that really fit that really well. Like focus really fits hammer really well, but mounting just fits Insect Glaive extremely well, right? Because you can go up there and I can pretty much get them out every 2 minutes, when I'm trying, whatnot. You have to, of course, get the red essence, I guess it is, from your bug. You don't need anything else to really improve your mounting capabilities. Obviously, if you want better armor, attack, and all the bonuses that come with it to make it an actual decent weapon for soloing, you're going to need all the essences you can, red, white, and orange. But red gives you the double attacks in midair just by itself. So you're going to need those double attacks because then you're obviously doubling up your efficiency on mounting. So I've been using that because I needed to farm Azure Loss for a little while for his lashes. His tail item is like 53% drop, and I didn't get it for shit. But that's a story for another day, for another armor set that I'll talk about later. Because Azure Loss flies, well, all the Rathaloses fly all the time. So when you have an Insect Glaive, fuck flash bombs, you just go up there and beat the shit out of them, knock them down, get a shiny and a mount, and all of a sudden your rest of the team can beat the hell out of them. It's like the best thing ever. I haven't had any problems with it. And I'm also using a Paralyze Insect Glaive, the Najarala Paralyze one, not the Zamtrios, because it has better sharpness and status effect. And so every time I knock him down, I pretty much paralyze him every other mount too. So it's just great. It really is. If you're going to use an Insect Glaive, you have to have the mounting skill, at least plus 10, if not plus 15, because there's a huge difference between plus 10 and plus 15. And really you can use it for anything. I've been using it for, because I have the paralyze one. I haven't really made anything else just because I didn't really want to mess with it until I really got the hang of it, to make sure I really liked it before I committed those parts to that weapon compared to another weapon. But I've been using it for a Cantor and Ucanlos and some of the larger monsters, and it works really well for them too because their whole body's pretty much a body hit. So whenever you jump up to get them, you pretty much get mounting hits, and you can mount them a lot easier than other monsters where you might hit the wing or the tail and it doesn't really count for one of those mounting hits, but it still counts for damage, whatever. Those big monsters, everyone's always afraid of them anyway. You just knock them over and over and over again. You can break all the parts, make the quest go by super fast. It's great. It's, as far as I'm concerned, the Insect Glaive is really more of a team weapon, sort of like the hunting horn, where you can use it solo to help boost yourself up. But I don't know. For me, it just seems like it's much more useful in a group of 4. So that's something to keep in mind. Still been using the Charge Blade a little bit, but upgrading some of those weapons. And beyond that, I don't think I really use much else. I stepped out of my comfort zone a little with those two as it is anyway. Took them both to G-Rank quests, and it paid off. It worked. So besides that, I've been working on some armor sets. Like I said, I made that bow one, load up, part breaker, focus, and stamina cover up. Makes you look kind of like a Gundam Ranger. I don't know. It's cool, right? But I also just made a brand new set last night. That's what I needed to farm Azure Lost for, and it's for my dual blades, and sort of for, long sword, sword and shield, even insect glaive, stuff like that. It involves G3 parts and G2 parts, but it's pretty easy to make. You need 2 rare items from each, each being, I guess I should tell you what it's made out of. It's made out of Kushala X, using the cap, the Gunner Kushala X, because you get an extra point for evade, or is it crit status? Crit element? I don't know. And then Kushala Male X, and then the arms, waist, and legs are all Rathalos Soul Z, because why not? Soul Z is, again, extremely overpowered in this game. It just seems to have the best skills. It's got like sharpness, hearing, and expert, and like attack, and like handicraft, and like defense, and like divine protection. It's got everything, really. So I decided to use that, but it really works well with the Kushala if you mix those parts, because you get plenty of slots to work with, really, and you get a lot of skills right off the bat, or at least really close to them. So I gemmed it for evade +3, sharp sword, critical +2, and elemental crit, which is a total of 55 points, which is quite a bit, really, for a custom armor set. Usually you try and aim somewhere around 40, which is the 4 main skills that you're looking for. 50 is great, depending on what ones you have, what skills you're actually looking for, you can stack on those pretty easily. Anything above 50 is what I consider a really good set. And of course that's varied a little bit with 4 Ultimate, because the armor skills, they set up the armor skills a lot differently in this game compared to other games. In the past, 40 was really the best you could hope for. 50 was incredible, but you can get 50 with a lot of sets fairly easily. Now, with, of course, depends on how good the skills are still. But this, I feel like this one's really good. I do need a 1-stock weapon for it based on the talisman. The talismans I'm using is an evade +3 with 3 slots. And the only reason I need a 1-socket weapon is because I use so many damn evasion jewels that I actually got health -10, which is a bummer because Rathalos Z also has health minus on top of that, I believe. So that is what it is. But I socketed it out, so there's no health minus skill in there. But you really can make it work with a sharp sword. You end up with sharpness +6, I believe, and like evasion +7 out of that, which is why you need to use the cap instead to get evasion +7 instead of evasion +6. You could also, you end up with hearing +8. So really you could go for like evade +2 or even evade +1. You can try for high grade earplug or earplug in there. I believe you end up with reckless abandon +14. Yes, you do. So you only need 1 gem to get it up to critical +2. And elemental crits already comes in there pre-installed with 11 points. So a really good set, amazing dual set. I tried it out last night and it was phenomenal. I couldn't even get touched with that evade +3. I love evasion skill though, and of course the elemental crit and critical +2 work extremely well together because of course the more crits you get, the more elemental damage you do because it gets activated more by elemental crit. So just they play off each other so well. It looks kind of cool. It looks like there's a dividing line right between the torso and the waist of you have like the nice bronzy kind of metally badass armor Kushala, and then like the really blue scale Azure Lost that really doesn't have any other color change to it. So all your rainbow effect is on the torso. But it is what it is. The defense, because of course of the gunner helm that you're using for Kushala, is a little lower than most, but I took it up to I think strong armor spheres and I got it to like 538 defense, something like that. I think that's about right. Whereas my previous set taken up to strongs had 537, or 1 point at 536 maybe. But nonetheless, I mean with evade +3 you don't really need to worry about it, do you? Like you don't. So it is what it is. Of course you need. Most of the parts are really easy to get, except for, of course, the Azure Lost Lash parts, which are just G-rank tails. 53% drop, and I ended up getting 2 mantles and 3 rubies in like the 8 quests I was trying to fucking farm that shit. Whatever, I shouldn't really complain because I'm going to use those like hell later. And you also needed 1 Elder Dragon gem to make the Kushala helm, but the rest of the parts are really, really easy to find, really easy to make. Of course, you do need a mantle, I believe, for the Azure Lost parts too, so while you're farming for the lashes, you'll probably get that too. Just remember to capture as many losses as you can, and you'll have losses as you can, and you'll get those parts a lot easier. I also came up with another set last night. Finally finished it off. I was having trouble finding the piece that really, really made it work. But I teased this on Twitter yet last night as well, saying that I've got an amazing set here. You guys might want to take a look at it. It's an end game set, so like the very end game set that you really want to make. I think for high damage output on Blade Master. So here's the skills right off the bat. So you get sharpness +1, right? Attack up large, critical eye +2, and sharp sword, right? And that's without any talismans. Okay, that's just 1 gem. You get those 4 skills. And how do you get that? And I was like, well, I cheated a little bit. I lied to you. The skill you're actually getting is Edge Master, which is Honed Blade, right? And Honed Blade gives sharpness +1 and attack up large. It's exclusive to like 2 or 3 end game sets, and I really wanted something with sharpness +1 and sharp sword. And I was like, well, the gems play off of each other. They work against each other, that's really difficult. But I was like, well, so that means I'm going to look at end game set. So I really want something like strong with good defense that really works. You know, that you can put other stuff in there with, and not just worry about just getting the sharpness +1 and sharp sword, because obviously those two work obviously really well together. So it's white Fatalis head, all Blade Master, the Grand Divine Ire Robe, Kajula Grip, which is the rusted Kushala, Garuga Tacit X, and white Fatalis feet. And that Garuga is like the pinpoint perfect thing to put in there. For a while I was there, I was messing around with some torso up, trying to get the skills that I needed, because of course Edge Master, there's no gems for it, so you have to put the specific armor in there to make it work. And I couldn't find something, and I finally found Kajula Grip and the Garuga Tacit X combo that really works really well. So you end up with, right off the bat, you get Honed Blade +10. So don't need to worry about that. That's from everything but Garuga. You get +3, +1, +3, +3. Then you get Critical Eye +2. And for a while I was sitting only with Critical Eye +12, but that Garuga actually has Sharpness +3 and Expert +3 with 1 slot, and it just like fit like a fucking puzzle piece. So right off the bat you get Honed Blade +10 and Critical Eye +2, and then you also have Sharpness +6, right? Well, you need 1 gem, Razor Sharp gem, +4 -2, 3 slots to go in there. Luckily, the Grand Divine Ire Robe has 3 slots, which is why the exclusive reason of why I picked it as a chest. I'm not sure how any of these things look, except for probably Garuga Tacit X, which looks like Grimace from McDonald's. But you know, you deal with it for the good skills. So you 1 gem, then you have 2 open slots, and you already have sharpness or sharp sword, sharpness +1, attack up large, and reckless abandon +2. So instantly high damage output. The bonus skills you're left with are Constitution +5, Unscathed +6, and then some really small ones. You have Elemental +2, Gloves Off +2, Handicraft +2, useless again in this case, and Hearing +2. So really, it all is based on your talisman, which is kind of nice because everyone has different talismans. So you have 2 open slots to play with, and any weapon slots you have, and then any really good talisman you have. So really, you have 4 amazing skills that work really well off each other. You know, just for high damage, you know, going to fucking town there. And then any talisman you want to sock it in there. Obviously, Hearing would be good. It'd be really tough to get high grade earplugs, I think, unless you have an amazing talisman. You could go for, you know, Critical God plus, or Critical God, which is what, +25. So I mean, you could easily do that. You only need +10 Expert, which I've seen tons of. You could even go for Element if you have a decent Element gem. Unscathed, I think you can gem in, maybe not, I don't know. You can gem in for Constitution. Gloves Off might be not too difficult to put in there. It's really open, and it's a really good set. The base defense is 559, so again, already higher than the armor I have, and the max defense is 635, so really high. The resistances aren't great. They're not terrible. Sort of. You end up with fire +4, water -5, ice -7, thunder +13, and of course dragon -16, which makes sense because you're using like 4 out of 5 parts that are really weak to dragon. So, dragon sucks, but that makes sense. Of course, it takes some really rare items to make. You need a Seregios lens, a bunch of Fatalis stuff, tons of Fatalis stuff, a Rajang heart. You need a Deora gem, which, okay, I have like 6 of right now. You need a Dragon's Fire, whatever the hell that is. Another gem, G-rank gem, and a Fatalis wing. It's going to take a little bit to make, and a lot of money to upgrade and all sorts of shit, but it's definitely worth it. You should really look into that. And I'll post a screenshot if I remember. I probably won't, of what the set is, so you guys can just look at it and remember that. So some of you may be wondering how I get to making these sets, right? Well, there's a lot of tools out there. Athena's armor set simulator is a really good one to start with, or you can use Caravaneer, which you can sort by armor skills there, but both I feel kind of limit you. Athena's ass is great. It's obviously very efficient. You can plug in your talismans right there. It knows exactly what you need for different things, but I feel like it's just a little too constrained, right? Because unless you know exactly what you want, let's say you use 4 skills, X, Y, Z, and A. X, Y, Z, and A. There's 4. I don't know why I didn't start with W, but whatever. Then it doesn't really work how you should when you're building a set, because you say you want to put those 4 skills in. Okay, well, maybe you want those 4 skills, sure, and it might be able to spit out something for you based on the talismans you have. But if you look at the armor set after you make it, you're going to realize that, okay, well, there's a lot of like unfinished skills in there that may be really close, that may also be really good. You're sort of sacrificing more potential for specific skills that you think work really well together, and they may be exactly what you want, and you may be very happy with it, and it may be great, sort of like my gunner set. But at the same time, you also can look at it and be like, okay, well, if I didn't go for this one skill, I could have like 2 other skills that would work pretty well too. It might be nice bonuses to have. They may not be the best thing in the world, but you may find that you're missing out on a few things if you only limit yourself to just using what exactly you want. And so usually what I like to do is start with 2 specific skills that I'm looking for. So when I made that one set, I wanted Edge Master and Sharpness. Very difficult skills to get, but 2 important ones nonetheless. And then everything else after that came into play, right? So the Reckless Abandon +15 or Expert +15 just fell into play there, and then I had plenty of open slots to work with. I mean, the talisman included. And the same thing with the Kushala Soul Z set that I made. I knew that I wanted Sharp Sword and Evade +3, right? And just based off of those 2 things, I found that critical and element crit worked really well with the pieces that I wanted, and those work extremely well in the whole set as a whole. So really, don't try and look for 4 skills that you really want unless you're looking for some weapon specifically to use, right? If you're making like a very specific armor set for like one bowgun that has like thunder attack +3, element up, element crit, and reckless abandon or something, and rapid fire, holy shit, that's an amazing set. I gotta make that, actually. I'm gonna look into that. But probably not possible. That's a lot of points. But if you're looking for something specific like that, then yeah, absolutely stick to it. But if you're looking for like a general set, then stick with just 2 skills that you want, and then look for the different armor pieces using something like Caravaneer, or I use Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate Database app for Android, because you can sort by skill. Let's say I want to search for an evade pieces, so I just go to the skill trees in the database app that I have, look for evade, and it lists all of the low, high, and G rank armor pieces that have the evade skill or the sharp sword skill or whatever. And then I do classic pencil and paper, write down what ones I think are good and write down the skills they have. I find ones that have some skills in common Obviously, if they're sharing the evasion of the sharp sword, that's what I'm looking for, But if they share some element crit, like these ones did, then I throw those together too, and then work with what I have. If you can take 2 different armor sets with 2 similar skills, put them together, and you get really close to that one, and then you end up with a third one, that's great, because then also you have 3 skills, and you could sock it in a 4th, I'm sure. And so really, you just don't want to limit yourself. You want to work off what the armor is already giving you, right? And with that, you can make some pretty awesome sets. And of course, you're limited by your talismans, which sucks because it's all RNG and stuff. But you shouldn't start with your talisman. You should start with your talisman when you have your set complete. Be like, okay, what's the last skill I want to put in here? What can I put in here based on talisman? You never want to look at a set and go, okay, well, I have this talisman. I can make this set. It's like, okay, that's great, but what about anyone else that looks at it? They're not going to be able to do anything with it. Not to mention the fact that you're basing off of something like one skill, so you're really limiting yourself already. So I only want to use this talisman, so now what? You're limiting yourself in the opposite way because, okay, you have a talisman that gives expert plus 12, so I want something to expert. A lot of pieces give expert, right? You need to pick something a little more specific than that, but not so specific. There's a fine barrier in there. But really, when the set comes together, it's awesome, and I love seeing custom armor sets. The interesting thing about this game is each whole armor set gives a lot of skills compared to the past games. Like each of them give like 4 or 5 skills, and then some change. So making custom armor sets is kind of rare because they're already pretty good, but really the custom armor sets are where the true power is held, because you may have 5 or 6 skills, whatever, in the whole set, but some of them just, may not fit. Like Diablos X has some really awesome skills for Greatsword, but then it's also got some that are just like, okay, I guess. Not to mention the fact that you're getting negative skills you have to sock it out too, and some of them, such as the White Fatalis, if you were to stick with that for just Edge Master and get more Reckless Abandon, number one, you have no slots. It's got like 3 slots. And that's it. So you could sock it in, 1 skill besides that, maybe. 2, you have to sock it out negative fate, right? It's got like fate minus 17 or minus 15, which is insane because it only activates after minus 10. Fate is bad luck, and you do not ever want that in a quest because it sometimes lowers the number of items you get in rewards, which is the worst. So you need like every single slot in the White Fatalis to already take out your fate gems, and then maybe more, and then you have a talisman, which is going to have to be the 1 socket skill. So you have, 3 skills? Fantastic. Love it. So yeah, I don't know. I'm a big fan of custom armor sets, and so I've started to think about maybe opening up my old custom armor set service. I did this back in Freedom Unite. I had over 200 handmade sets by me where I went in and people wanted certain things. I gave them, the best I could, stuff that worked with it, maybe a little bit better. So maybe if you guys want to drop a comment down below saying, where you're at in the game, if you're looking for specific armor skills, like, I'm looking for a set for this, or maybe later in G rank, I think these skills work really well together. What do you think? You think you can make something for me? I'm like, yeah, let me look into it, a few days, and we'll go with that, because I love making, new sets like that, because then obviously I can make them too, maybe something I didn't think about, and we can go with that. Of course, you got to be warned that sometimes, I want these 5 skills. It's like, okay, well, that's not going to happen. Even certain three skills may not happen. You may only get those 3 skills, and again, it's based off of the talismans you have, so it's a little difficult. But I like to open that up for you guys. So if you want to drop me a comment or whatever, please feel free to do so. I'd happily work on something like that for you. I mean, I don't have access to everything, but I do have the apps and all that, so I can make something work. Also, I'm still waiting on the recording modification for my 3DS, so I haven't sent it out yet. They haven't really gone forth with it yet. Started whatever they're called, Kasuki-san or something like that. So I'm kind of waiting until they get going, and they're gonna have a big influx, and I'll probably wait till like a few weeks after that. So hopefully I can send it in. They'll do it, and then they'll send it back to me really quick, so I'm not missing my 3DS for 2-3 weeks, something like that. So I do plan on still putting up more videos. I really appreciate all the comments and the views that you guys have put in towards those. It's awesome, especially with the shitty quality. And just know that there's hopefully more to come. So that's all I have for this week's podcast. It actually ran a little longer than I thought, so sorry about that. But go out there, make some awesome armor sets, and thanks for listening, guys. Take it easy.